we're going to spend the first section on these external factors. So what's the context that defines how companies want to do pricing? So the first one is around what is a company's, what's their strategy and goals, right? Who's heard of the business model canvas? Wow. Okay, good. I'm not wasting anyone's time. The business model canvas is something that's was invented for startups to help them figure out what their business should be. And so it allows them to see, it allows you to understand how different parts of the business relate to each other, identify hypotheses and assumptions and risks. So they write down things that see how the business works, which leads you then to things you can test. Identifies where you can add value and reduce costs. And then you can also identify if something changes. So it was designed for startups. It's really useful for all companies for thinking through how companies work. So I've got an example for a little company that some of you may have heard of called Amazon. And we all probably think, I mean, who's bought stuff from Amazon? Who's not bought anything from Amazon? Wow, really? They don't have Amazon in Australia?
It's recently, barely.
Okay, and you didn't either? On principle, or?
No,
Nothing interesting in Amazon. Somebody write that down. All right, anyway, most of you know Amazon, except for the two strange people. No, I know, I'm just teasing you, don't worry. So what's Amazon's value proposition? Just shout outs.
Low price. Low price.
Low price. Free shipping.
Customer experience.
Fast delivery. Good set. I would argue it's convenience, right? It's super easy. They have a huge selection and choice. You should check it out sometime. They have high quality service. If they say it's going to be delivered on Wednesday, it's almost always delivered on Wednesday. And a fair price. You can buy stuff cheaper now in other places, but they have a fair price. It used to be low price. Now I think it's more like fair price. Fair is a nice squishy word, but right. But that, to me anyway, that's the value proposition of Amazon. Then we go over to who are they selling to? Well, their customers are consumers like us. But now it's also small businesses, and I'd argue the vendors. You can think of many of the vendors sell their things through Amazon and pay Amazon for the privilege of selling them. So they are also customers in a sense. If we go to customer relationships, who's talked to anyone from Amazon? A few people, right? Yeah. Never bought anything, but he's talked to them. Most customers of Amazon never talk to Amazon. I've been an Amazon customer. I've spent thousands on Amazon. I've never talked to anyone from Amazon, right? It's kind of impressive. And I'm not, and it's okay. It's also okay, right? Because I'm a satisfied customer. So yeah, the website and then automated services is how they do 99% of their interactions, right? Which is not something you may have thought of. The channels, Amazon.com, interfaces, and now affiliates as well. And then this drives to their revenue streams, which is also more interesting than it used to be, right? Direct product sales, commissions on partner sales that we mentioned from the vendors, Prime subscriptions, music subscriptions, Amazon Prime is all the revenue stream, Audible as well, and then web hosting services, right? The cloud. So they have an interesting mix of revenue. The other side is, we don't need to spend as long on this, right? So key partners, their activities, merchandising the website, fulfillment. Key resources, I'd argue, is their distribution network, their brand and reputation, the data they have, right? They're always we can have a side conversation about fiddling with Amazon prices, right? They're always tinkering with their prices. Actually, I guess I have talked to someone from Amazon because I know somebody who works there. But she told me that Amazon will always be a price follower. That's a really interesting sentence, right? Normally, if you're the biggest company in an industry, you are the price leader. But as Amazon's specifically chosen to be a price follower, And I think that's actually quite smart because it protects them from this notion of controlling the market, right? They're going to say we're following prices. It's a bit of bullshit because they can always follow up, they'd be higher or lower, but it's interesting. In another training, I do two versions of this slide. So I do what they were like in 2000 and what they're like now. In 2000, it was all about low cost, right? And one of the key resources was investors' money because they were just throwing money at it, right? Amazon makes very small profit for years and years and years and years. Yesterday, they became the most valuable company in the world.
They're actually operating at a loss for a long time until they own these
Yeah.
two stores. They just run them out over the price.
Yeah. So they bought market share. So this is where understanding the strategy of Amazon is really interesting, right? Because they bought market share basically, and they could afford to, and now they're making money, and it's worked. You can't argue with that level of success. So the point of this is not really to pick on Amazon or to argue the details, but what I would say is I think one has a richer conversation with this as a backdrop. And I know Patrick Adams is interested in having this become sort of a standard part of the selling toolkit where they fill out something like this. And if you're introduced to a new customer, you can do if you're going to be on a new project, you can do a lot worse than ask for, can you show me the business model canvas so I can understand the business? Because I think it's a really shorthand, quick way of getting a sense of it. And it doesn't need to be, there's some subtlety around, is somebody a customer or a resource or a partner, but it doesn't matter that much, right? It's a valuable tool.